these are the manuals, called manuals because you play them with your hands, and these are called pedals because you play them with your feet. These are called stops, and each stop, when pulled out, activates a series of pipes called a rank, and there's usually one pipe in a rank for every note on the keyboard. So if we had one stop pulled out for this manual, and if I pressed one key, then one pipe would sound. If we pulled out two stops, then two ranks would be activated and two pipes would sound from the one note. And so on until you have the full organ, if you, I suppose you. It's quite loud. The reason there are two keyboards is because sometimes we want to have a different tone without in a performance without having to change the registration or the amount of stops we have pulled out. So we could have a very loud tone on the lower manual called the great manual, and then have a lovely soft one on the upper manual called the swell, so that you didn't have a bit of variation. The pipes that are controlled by this manual are a different set of pipes controlled by this manual. So, because the pipes are completely separate from each other, they're called divisions. So because this is called the swell manual, the set of pipes associated with this keyboard are called the swell division. The pipes associated with this keyboard are called this great division, and pipes associated with pedals are called the pedal division. So an organ is built up of divisions. In this case there are three. 1, 2, 3. And divisions are built up of ranks, which are actuated by stops. And stops are built up of separate pipes.
But organs weren't always like that fine example in the German Lutheran Church. In the organ's origins in the cathedrals of the 12th, 13th and 14th centuries, all music was written for the purpose of extending prayer, and the organ's role was not in performing solo, but was instead an aid to the performance of sacred choral works. The organ was needed to provide backing in a time when all other instruments were forbidden from the church, as they were seen as too mundane to be used for this task. Music of this time was strictly divided between that for entertainment and that of the church, private, personal use as opposed to the collective worship of God. Originally, the pedals, which were actually small buttons called mushrooms, were performance aids that activated one of the keys in the manuals, instead of the current system where the pedals are connected to their own division of pipes. There was usually a maximum of only 4 of these buttons, representing 4 keys on the manual. The long sustained notes that could be created by the feet provided opportunity for the hands to be utilized in the melody, hence the term pedal point. As the organ became popular as an element in mass, rivalry developed between their owners. The organ became a manifestation of the wealth, prestige and influence of the patrons who sponsored them, and as a direct result, the range and scale of these instruments grew. However, the pedals did not change drastically in these few hundred years. In 1468, an organ with a complete octave of pedals was built in Nuremberg, for the first time allowing organists to employ a full scale in composition and performance. By the start of the 16th century, organs were being built with greatly extended pedal controls. For example, that of St. Mary's Church in Lübeck, which had a 16-foot rank and a 32-foot rank for the pedals at the time of its construction. The years between 1500 and 1650 produced some of the most important innovations in the history of the organ, so that the keyboard and pedal designs were almost identical to those used today. This standardization meant that advanced repertoire could be performed more easily, giving composers such as Dietrich Buxtehude and J.S. Bach greater scope and incentive to compose magnificent works. Music from this period, such as Bach's Toccata in F major, demonstrates that compositional ingenuity could be fully realized on instruments capable of accommodating such complexity. But these advanced technologies took a long time to become established in other parts of Europe. In France, the pedals are not nearly as important as they had become in Germany, and the registration and action left a lot to be desired. In England, the organ was still a 2-octave toy and remained like that mostly for the next 300 years. This English organ in St Andrew's Congregational Church in Balmain, and built in 1867 by the famous Walker, demonstrates that even up until the late 19th century, the pedals were much undervalued in the English traditions of secular and sacred music. This organ, while quite larger than the one in the German Lutheran church in the city, has only one pedal stop, where the German has 4. This stop is very mellow and deep, completely unsuitable for a pedal solo. It wasn't until the early 20th century that English organs began being built with the pedal specifications necessary for the music of the High German Baroque. Because of this instrumental limitation, Handel and his English contemporaries regarded the organ as no different to the clavichord or harpsichord, which their music reflects. organ gained not only unrivaled popularity as a congregational instrument, especially in England where it had not been so popular beforehand, but also, like you just saw, as a completely solo instrument that could fill a concert hall without any support. In the 20th century, organs enjoyed their status as the king of instruments. They're essential in the construction of any self-respecting city town hall or important concert hall. These modern organs often utilise the new technologies of electricity and mechanics to create the largest organs in the world, such as the grand organ of Sydney Town Hall, built in 1890. This exemplary organ has an extremely sophisticated pedal division, including a 64-foot contra-trombone, the only operational organ in the world to have one that tall. It was no longer acceptable to have a flimsy pedal division on an organ.